All right, welcome. If you work in construction, listen up, because the next few minutes could be some of the most important of your day. We're going to blast through a quick 10-question quiz on OSHA's trenching and excavation safety standards. This is perfect if you're prepping for your OSHA 10 or 30, or maybe getting ready for a safety interview. So grab something to keep score and let's see what you know. So here's the game plan. We'll hit the big stuff, the critical numbers you have to know, the role of the competent person, managing the whole job site, and those invisible dangers like hazardous atmospheres. At the end, you'll tally up your score, and I've got a bonus tip for you. Ready? Let's jump in. First stop, let's talk numbers. In this line of work, a few feet can be the difference between a normal day and a total disaster. These are the measurements that trigger major OSHA requirements, and you've got to know them cold. All right, question 1. You've dug a trench. At what depth does OSHA say you absolutely must have a protective system, sloping, shoring, or a trench box to prevent a cave-in? Is it 4 feet, 5 feet, or 6 feet, or does it just depend on the soil? Go ahead and lock in your answer. And the correct answer is B, 5 feet. This one is fundamental. Once you hit that 5-foot mark, cave-in protection is mandatory. The only real exception is if you're digging in solid, stable rock. For pretty much everything else, 5 feet is the trigger. So, how'd you do? Did you get it right? Question 2. Now, let's talk about getting out, because a cave-in can happen in seconds. At what depth does OSHA require a safe way for workers to exit that trench, like a ladder or a ramp? And the answer is B, 4 feet. Yep, a little shallower than the last rule. If your crew is in a trench that's 4 feet deep or more, they have to have an exit within 25 feet of them at all times. This rule is all about making sure a quick escape is always just a few steps away. Okay, we've covered some numbers, but rules are pretty useless without the right person on site to enforce them. That brings us to our next section, the competent person. Now, a competent person isn't just someone with a lot of experience. According to OSHA, they have to be able to identify hazards, and this is the most important part, they have to have the authorization from their boss to stop the work and fix the problem immediately. It's about knowledge and power. So with that definition fresh in your mind, here's question 4. Who has that specific on-site authority to classify soil, inspect the conditions, and literally shut the job down if it's unsafe? The answer, of course, is C, the competent person. They are the designated safety authority on that site. When it comes to getting workers out of a dangerous situation, their word is final. That really shows you just how critical their role is. Question 5. How often does this person need to be checking things out? Is it, a weekly task, only after something goes wrong, or is it a lot more frequent than that? And the correct answer is B. Inspections are a constant process. They have to happen before work starts every day, as needed while work is going on, and always after a big event like a rainstorm, which can completely change the stability of the soil. All right, 2 sections down. Now let's kind of zoom out from the trench itself and look at the whole area around it. Managing the entire job site is just as important for preventing accidents. First question in this section. Think about that pile of dirt you just dug out, the spoil pile, or the stack of pipes waiting to be installed. How far back from the edge of that trench do you need to keep all that stuff? The answer is C, 2 feet. That's the minimum. And this rule does double duty. First, it keeps loose dirt and tools from falling on the people working below. Second, it reduces the weight pressing down on the edge of the trench walls, which makes a cave-in less likely. Time for a rapid-fire round on site awareness. 2 questions, back to back. First, what is the absolute first thing an employer has to do before even breaking ground? And second, if you've got an excavator operator who can't see the edge of the trench, what's required? And here are your answers. For question 8, it's B. You absolutely have to locate underground utilities first. Call 811. Hitting a gas line is a disaster you have to prevent. For question 9, it's also B. If the operator's view is blocked, you need a warning system. That could be barricades, hand signals from a spotter, anything to keep that machine from going over the edge. All right, here's a critical true or false question for you. Can a worker be underneath a suspended load, like a bucket of soil or a trench box being lowered, as long as they're wearing a hard hat? The answer is a hard false. Absolutely not. A hard hat won't do a thing to protect you from a multi-ton piece of equipment. The rule is simple and it is absolute. Never, ever work under a suspended load. Period. Let's move to our final quiz section. We've covered all the hazards you can see, but some of the deadliest dangers in a trench are completely invisible. We're talking about hazardous atmospheres. Okay, our final quiz item is a two-parter, all about the air you're breathing down there. First, if you even suspect a hazardous atmosphere could exist, at what depth must you start testing the air before anyone goes in? And second, what percentage of oxygen is officially considered an oxygen-deficient atmosphere? And here are those answers. For testing, you must test in trenches deeper than 4 feet where a hazard could reasonably exist. And for oxygen levels, the magic number is 19.5%. Anything less than that, and the air is not safe to breathe without proper ventilation or some serious respiratory protection. And that's all 10 questions. Go ahead and tally up your score. How did you do? Hey, whether you've got a perfect 10 or missed a few, every single question we covered is a potential lifesaver on the job site. Now, as promised, here's one final bonus tip. For our bonus tip, it's all about the soil. Here's a quick cheat sheet for the maximum allowable slopes you can use. As you can see, for stable rock, you can cut it straight down, vertical. But for something unstable, like type C soil, you need a very gradual slope of 1.5 to 1. Knowing your soil makes all the difference. If you want to learn more about workplace safety and OSHA rules, subscribe to HSE Study.